One of their biggest targets has been White House press secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Case in point, this particularly personal broadside from MSNBC's Mika Brzezinski.
Those briefings are useless.
Well,
she does not say anything that is truthful, and she does not intend to. She's the one protecting a president who does that every day, who watches TV every day and tweets stupidity. What she is doing is helping damage this republic.
Those are just the nice things she said. Joining us now with reaction is White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who's freezing out there. Sarah, great to see you. Merry Christmas. How you doing?
It's great to be with you. A little cold, but other than that, we're doing great.
Sarah, we have big news to get to on tax reform. Big day. But I have to say, I've been watching you now for months in that briefing room with patience, with an ability to deal with the CRAP being thrown at you on a minute-by-minute basis. You have more patience than I would ever have. But then you hear comments like that from another female journalist. How do you process that particular comment, which I found, of all of them said lately, particularly objectionable?
Look, it helps that I have 3 toddlers at home, so I'm pretty good at having a lot of patience and sometimes dealing with things that you don't always want to deal with. But look, this was a president who was elected by the forgotten men and women of this country, and a lot of liberals have contempt for those people, whether they're men, whether they're women, and they want to attack us. I think that it's a great reminder of why this president was elected. We're here to do a job. We're here to get big things done. That's what we're focused on. And if they want to focus on petty attacks, that's fine. Let them have at it. While they're doing that, we're going to get tax cuts passed in this country. We're going to continue to grow the economy, continue to create jobs, 2 million new jobs since this president came into office, and I'm sure a lot of those are going to women. And maybe we'll get to replace some of those female journalists out there that don't like us very much at some point. But the bottom line is, this is a president who's focused on getting things done, for the men and women that, frankly, a lot of the liberal elites in this country don't like, have contempt for, and he's focused on empowering women, and he is doing that in the way he puts people in place in his administration. And I think it's sad that they're attacking a lot of us while claiming to champion women's causes and women's issues.
Yeah, I've been on the receiving end of that, but I wear it as all a badge of honor. The more they're attacking, the better job I think you're doing. Let's talk about this, just your role, because I think a lot of Fox people watching now, Fox viewers, they watch you out there doing daily combat, and they think to themselves, okay, what if she's talking to the president and he says, go out there and say this, but it's not something you're comfortable with. I'm not talking about any specific issue, but would you say to him, boss, that's not something I'm comfortable saying, but maybe get someone else to go out there and say that. Have you ever done that?
Look, if there was ever a moment that I wasn't comfortable doing something, I wouldn't do it. That's part of who I am. And this president's not going to ask me to do something I'm not comfortable with. If I get to a place, I can talk to him and come to a place where we agree on what the talking points and what the message is. But that's just not something I'm ever going to be part of. And I don't think or expect him to ever ask me to do anything that I'm not going to be comfortable doing. Look, I believe in what the president's doing. I believe in the agenda. I believe in what we're fighting for and the way that we're trying to spend every single day making America a better place. I think we've done a lot in the first 11 months, and I look forward to helping the president push that message over the next 7 years.
32% approval rating in a recent poll. I guess it was the Monmouth poll. Other polls show the president in 30s. Sometimes he gets up to the high 30s. Why do you think, at least now, he hasn't gotten the credit for the dereg he's done, for the tax cut, obviously, that everybody's going to get in the new year, the judges on the federal appellate court, record pace for putting judges on the courts? Why is the number still so low, and how do you get that number up?
Look, I think a lot of the times the reason the numbers might be lower than they probably really are is because people aren't getting all of the facts. They're not getting all of the good news parts of what's happening in this administration, what's happening in this country. And I think a lot of people are going to start to see this impact when the tax cuts go through. That's going to happen right away. They'll see the bigger paychecks starting as early as February. I think there are a lot of big things that you're going to see, the changes in the deregulation simulation process. You're going to see the impact of that even more than we already are at the first part of next year. But I think one of the big problems is that stuff doesn't get covered. We're so focused on talking about the negative and trying to attack this president, trying to delegitimize him, that some of the best parts and the biggest things that are happening aren't being covered.
It's beyond over the top. I mean, it's 90% coverage is bad. Nothing. He could come up with a cure for lung cancer tomorrow, and they'd say, well, why didn't he do it a year ago? I mean, this is where it is. Let's talk about DACA, because what I'm hearing from my little sources on Capitol Hill is that the president may move to do a, quote, DACA fix, which could be amnesty for 800,000 people brought here as minors, but without that RAISE Act attached, without getting rid of chain migration, without getting rid of the visa lottery system, without reducing the illegal immigration, the wall, all that stuff. People like Scott Taylor of Virginia, they're obsessed with doing this DACA before the end of the year. Don't you think the base of this party, Sarah, will go crazy if that's what the president pushes through when we have so many bigger priorities here?
Look, the president's focused on making sure that we have responsible immigration reform. We've been talking about a lot this week, ending chain migration, including funding for the border wall, increasing interior enforcements. There are a lot of things that we're doing. We've laid out the principles, the things that we want to see, and we want to make sure that that's part of any package that moves forward. That's our position, and that's what we're focused on making sure happens, is complete and responsible immigration reform.
So you won't do any clean DACA, quote, fix that some of these Republicans want, will you?
Look, as I just said, we've laid out what our priorities and what our principles are, and that's certainly not our plan. This is a president who has talked about, campaigned, and won on doing big things when it comes to immigration, specifically funding the border wall, greater interior enforcements, better vetting, and just, again, making sure that we have a responsible immigration system, something we don't currently have, and something this president wants to make sure we don't just tinker with it and fix small parts of it, but that we fix all of it.
Sarah, when you see a judicial nominee up there, as yesterday, Mr. Peterson, I believe, who was nominated to D.C. District Court, struggling with some questions about evidence and procedure issues that when you're a litigator. Does that give the president pause about the way some of these lower court judges are being picked and selected?
Look, I haven't talked to him specifically about that, but what I do know is this is a president who's focused on making sure we have judges in place that understand what their role is. And that's not to create law, that's not to change laws, but it's to be actually focused on the Constitution and making sure that we have judges in place that understand their place.
Right. That was a bad deal, though. That was a viral video nightmare. I'm sorry, but I mean, his judges have been great. And he's, I'm sure, a nice person, and he's good at the FEC. But as a district court judge, speaking as someone who clerked on the Federal Appellate Court of Appeals, that was a brutal question by a series of questions by Kennedy. So I hope Don McGahn and the crowd takes a second look at some of the procedures for the district court. Sarah, do you make apple pie, by the way? Because I'm not a big fan of pecan, but
I think you would be if you had my pecan pie. I think I could change your mind. I think I may have even won over April Ryan at least for a day or two with that pecan pie yesterday.
No, first of all, in Connecticut, we call it pecan. That's how bad we are. You guys have the right pronunciation down south. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, have a great Christmas, and thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight.
Thanks. Merry Christmas, Laura.
All right, you take care. And Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff is all about fanning Russia collusion accusations. All he's missing is actual evidence. And Michelle Malkin's here to sort it out in just a minute.